Hello and welcome to the Harris Federation Scheme of Work on Times of Change. This is a creative writing unit where you will produce your own creative writing when you've finished all of the lessons. This can be an imagined piece or it can be a personal experience of your own. So have your pen and paper ready and be creative. Remember, this is a video format, so you can pause at any time whenever you need to do your work or if you need to go back and recap any ideas. Enjoy your lesson.
What does tone mean? It means mood or emotions. What I want you to do now is I want you to say the line, stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone. I want you to say this sentence in different ways using different voices to show different emotions. Pause the video whilst you do this. Now I want you to read this poem to yourself out loud, and I want you to decide what tone you think this poem should be read in. Is it sombre? Is it joyful? Is it surprising? Use your wheel of feelings from a previous lesson to help you. Pause the video whilst you read this poem out loud. You should have a printout also to make notes on. This poem was written in the 1930s by a man called W.H. Auden. It was written about the loss of his partner, who was also a man. Does that change your reading of it at all? Let's listen again and annotate again the tone of the poem. What other language techniques has Auden used?
Stop all the clocks. Cut off the telephone. Prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. Silence the pianos and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin. Let the mourners come. Let the aeroplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. Put great bows round the white necks of the public doves. Let traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out everyone. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can ever come to any good.
This poem expresses overwhelming grief, tragic loss, and an unrelenting pessimism, best exemplified in those last lines, for nothing now can come to any good. The tone of the poem is that of melancholy and sadness. W.H. Auden made his feelings about another man very public in days when he would have been forced to be very private, as all gay men would have had to have been, as relationships between men were illegal. How have times changed? Do you know what this acronym means and stands for? LGBTQ. Pause the recording and have a think. Welcome back. LGBTQ is an acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer or questioning. These terms are used to describe a person's sexual orientation or gender. Some of these words might be new to you, so here are some definitions for you. A lesbian is a homosexual woman. A gay is a homosexual man. Bisexual is a person who is sexually attracted to both men and women. Transgender is a person whose sense of identity does not match with their birth sex. Queer or questioning is a person that is queer or questioning their sexual identity. LGBTQ activists and artists have created posters to raise awareness about different sexualities since the movement began. From about 1988, activists began to use the acronym LGBT. Not until the 1990s within the movement did gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender people gain equal respect. Pride in London is an annual LGBTQ festival and parade held each summer in London. Pride in London celebrates the diversity of the LGBTQ community with colourful Pride in London parade, as well as the free festivity events that take place in Trafalgar Square. This event brings together thousands of people of all genders, ethnicities, sexualities, and also many people of different races. Many people still struggle to come out, as there is still a lot of prejudice in the world. Many LGBTQ celebrities have faced criticism, but their bravery in the face of adversity has helped many people to be proud of who they are and to publicly acknowledge that they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning their sexuality. W.H. Auden wrote his poem in 1938, where there weren't celebrities who had come out and paved the way for him. He must have felt very alone. Here's a map of the world where the red highlights where it is still a criminal offence to be homosexual. An admission of the fact can result in a fine, a prison sentence or even the death penalty. Homosexuality was legalised in England in 1967 as long as this was private. Auden wrote his poem in the 1930s, making his homosexuality very public, which was very risky. Let's look at the poem again now that we understand how controversial this topic would have been when Auden was writing it. Now we're going to look at one stanza at a time, so have your poem printed out and a pen and highlighter ready for you to write notes. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. What are the imperatives, the commands in this stanza? Why use these imperatives? What do they all have in common? What do these suggest about how Auden is feeling? So one imperative is stop, it's a command. Now pause the recording and look at the questions in the purple box and write down your answers. Pause now. Welcome back. Let's look at those imperatives. Stop, cut off, prevent, silence. What do all of these have in common? Auden is showing that he wants everything to stop and he wants everyone to listen and stand up and take notice of the grief that he feels. He's making his grief very public in a time that he would have had to have been very private about his personal life. But he rejects this completely. He wants everything to stop. He wants everyone to listen. He wants silence and he wants respect for his dead partner. What do these suggest about how Auden is feeling? Why use those imperatives? They're very strong. I think they denote anger at this point in the poem. Now let's look at the second stanza, and we're going to focus on the imagery. Let aeroplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. Put crepe paper bows round the white necks of public doves. Let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. What do you notice about all of the things that Auden wants? What do these suggest about how Auden is feeling? What is the tone? Pause the recording now and reflect on this stanza. Welcome back. Let aeroplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling the message, he is dead. He wants public doves to wear these white bows. He wants traffic policemen to wear black cotton gloves. He wants a very public mark of respect for his dead partner. He doesn't want to hide, and he wants everyone to mourn him because that's how important he was. Notice the message, he is dead. He wants it written in an aeroplane message. You can't get any more public than that. He wants traffic policemen to acknowledge it. I think this is a nod to the fact that it was illegal to be a gay man. But he wants the traffic policeman, he wants the law to acknowledge the love that he had. Now let's look at the next stanza. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. You've got listing, you've got repetition. Why does Auden use lists in this stanza? What word is repeated and why? Focus on the last line of the stanza. How is Auden feeling? What is the tone? Pause the recording now and think about these questions, making notes on your poem. Welcome back. We have the list. He was my north, my south, my east and west. What is being implied here? That he is everything to Auden. And perhaps the point of using a compass shows that he's lost without him, perhaps. My working week, my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. He's all-encompassing. Then you have this repetition of my. He was my north, my south. That's quite a possessive pronoun. He wants everybody to know that his partner belonged to him. They felt very together because they were. How is Auden feeling in this poem? Look at that last line. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. How is he feeling? And the final stanza. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can come to any good. So you've got light imagery here. So pick out any images that you might associate with light or indeed life. What is Auden suggesting about these sources of light? What is being implied here? Focus on the last line of the stanza as well. How is Auden feeling? What is the tone? Pause the recording and make your notes. When you're ready, come back. Welcome back. So let's look at this. You've got the stars, the sun, the moon, all sources of light. And he says the stars are not wanted. Put out everyone. Pack up the moon. Dismantle the sun. He wants to distinguish all light, which could be symbolic of life. He feels completely desolate and pessimistic. He doesn't want to go on. Pour away the ocean. Sweep up the wood. All of these things give life. The ocean, the wood. And he very deliberately wants them all to leave, to go away. Pour away, sweep up, pack up, dismantle. It's a very bleak ending to the poem. For nothing now can come to any good. We're going to look now at our wheel of feelings to focus on the tone of the poem. Look at your wheel of feelings. You've got words like fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, love. I think some of these you can definitely say are not the correct tone for this poem. It's definitely not surprise or joyful, is it? There are elements of love, but it's much more about sadness, I would say. And within sadness, you have lots of other words, more specific words that could describe the tone. Look at the final lines on each stanza. Bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let the traffic policeman wear black cotton gloves. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. For nothing now can come to any good. Now I want you to write down the answer to this question. What is the tone of Funeral Blues? You can use the sentence starters to help you if you want, but you don't have to. Pause the recording whilst you write this down. Now it's your turn to write a poem of your own about any change in your life. It can be made up, but make sure that the tone is really clear. Your success criteria, ultimately, you have to make sure the tone is clear because that's what we've been learning about today. You also might want to include imagery, imperatives, personal pronouns, or anything that W.H. Auden used, or anything of your own choosing. But really think about that tone. If you're struggling to think of some possible titles, look in the grey box. Pause the recording whilst you do this. Well done. Now it's time to read back over your poem and change any words that you think need changing to make sure that that tone is really, really clear. Lots of poets do this. It's a redrafting process to make sure your end product is the absolute best it can be. When you have completely finished, I want you to underline any words that show what tone you have created, and then annotate what that tone is. Use your wheel of feelings to help you use the correct words, if you like.